Hello, my name is Tom, and in this video I will solve SquareCells puzzle number 19. Okay, we start off with the group clues once more. I can delete this square according to the corner rule, but only from the group clues. I can't really deduce anything yet. So let's look at the columns here. This one obviously doesn't help. This one also doesn't help. One gap, one gap, one gap, one. They can be positioned also differently. This one also doesn't help. This one doesn't help. Here, this one helps. We have two connected squares at the bottom, marked like this. That completes the group of two connected squares also, so I can finalize it like this. And the three connected squares at the top of this column can only be positioned like this, or like this, or like this. So that means this square here has to be marked. Okay, let's look at the column, at the row clues here. This one doesn't help, this one doesn't help, this one doesn't help, and this one also doesn't help. Here I only have separate squares, so this one has to be a separate square, and we need two squares times two connected in this row. So let's look at the possible positions. We can have two squares like this, and the other one like this or like that. And if this one was positioned like this, we could have this one like that. So we only have these two positions here like this. These two squares have to be marked. So let's look at the column clues again here. Since this has to be a separate square, I can delete this one. This one still doesn't help. This one also doesn't help. And here no help. No significant change yet. So where do we go from here? We have to look at group clues and column clues in conjunction. And I do that by looking at this group of three connected squares here. I know that this group of three connected squares cannot be completed like this, all entirely in this row, because it touches this group of two connected squares, right? So this is the maximum extent of the group of two connected squares in this row. It means we need at least one more square in this row. Can we position the square here? Yes, that looks fine here. But if we look there, it doesn't look fine, because we can only have one separate square in this column, and we already have two connected ones here. So this is not a valid option. We can, however, complete the group of three connected squares like this. Yeah, one separate square here, one square only here, or like this, right? So that means in either of those two options, this square has to be marked here in this row. And since it's completed by like this, I can delete all the squares in this row like this. Okay, we could go through all the columns now again, but no, let's do it actually, because there is some stuff that we can deduce here. Let's start with this column. We need three more separate squares here, and if you look at the section of four squares here, we can only have two separate squares in there like this, or like this. So that means the first square here in this column has to be positioned there, and the group of three connected squares is completed like this. Here we have three squares, and we can already say that we can only have one square here or here, which means we need two more squares in this section, and given three squares we can only position them like that with a gap in between. This clue doesn't help yet. This one also doesn't help. Here we don't have enough clues yet. In this section we can actually use it, because again, in four squares we can only position two separate squares, either like this, or like this. So that means the top square has to be here, and according to this clue here, we need three connected squares. So I can delete this one and mark the three squares here. So now let's look again at the clues here. Yes, I can complete this row, because the group of two connected squares can only be completed like this, and this row is completed. This one is completed already. Here we need 7 squares in this row, and we only have 7 squares left, so let's mark all of them, like this. Here we have 3 squares, doesn't help yet. Here we only have separate squares, so let's mark this one, delete this one. And here we have our 2 squares by now, so let's delete those 2 and mark this one for the second 2 connected squares like this. Okay, so now, oh, I missed marking one there. So now I want to go on not by looking at this, but at this group clue here, because I overlooked that before. I missed that before. This group is already completed. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means I can delete all of these squares. And looking at this clue again, it means I have to mark this square as well. So now let's go into the columns again. We have one more separate square here somewhere. We have one more square that has to be here, because the group of 10 connected squares has to move into this direction. So this column is also completed like this. Now we have 5 squares here. We don't know the position here yet. We have only separate squares here, so I can delete this one. And we need one more separate square in this column, and that can only be positioned here. Okay, so now it is time to play the what if game. What would happen if I marked the one remaining square in this column? I have marked 4 already, I have one more. If I would mark this square, I would have to delete this square here, right? And for my group of 10 connected squares, I would end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares maximum, which is not enough. So that means I cannot put a square here. I have to delete this square, and the square has to be in fact here. Now if we count from this side here, remember first of all, we only have one square left for either of these 2 positions here. If I count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares only, so I definitely have to move here for my group of 10 connected squares. And this also completes this column here, because I can only have a separate square here. I can delete this square. Now I can play the what if game again by thinking what happens. What if this square was marked here? I would have to delete this square, because it would be a separate square here, and I would end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares again maximum for a group of 10. So that doesn't work. I have to put this square here, and I can delete this square. Okay, now for the group of 10 squares, I obviously have to move into this direction. And let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares we have here. So we need 2 more. If I went here, I couldn't accomplish this, so I obviously have to move into this direction. This completes this row also, and I can delete this square and complete the puzzle. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again in my next video, when I will solve puzzle number 20 of the game. Bye!